Recently, some people were upset at my video explaining the new Urban Renewal Act because some of you were under the impression that this act will allow the government to simply kick you out of the house and take your land for redevelopment. If you're one of them, then ooh boy, do I have some bad news. But I also have some good news. Maybe. Let's start with the bad news. Realistically, the Urban Renewal Act isn't made so that the government can kick you out. Because if they wanted to, they can already do that with the existing Land Acquisition Act. This act gives the government legal power to acquire private land secara wajib for certain purposes. And no, this isn't something new. It's been around since 1960. Under this act, the government can take land from private owners if the land is needed for public purposes like highways and hospitals, economic development projects that benefit our economy, like industrial zones or commercial hubs, and even for urban renewal or improvement purposes. This is where it gets a little grey because redevelopment projects can also fall under this category. And before you ask, yes, even freehold land can be acquired. Having freehold status doesn't mean your land is untouchable, but it might mean that they'll pay you more compared to say Malay Reserve land or Kampong Baru land lah. This law requires that landowners be compensated fairly based on market value. Whether the compensation is actually fair is a whole other debate lah. But at least on paper, the government can't just take your land for free. But while they have this power, they can't just will it sesuka hati, because if they do, a lot of people will get upset. And they can't afford to make us too unhappy because of what happens every 5 years. So yeah, that's the bad news. The good news is, the Urban Renewal Act isn't made for taking away your house. It's actually made to fix a problem in the Strata Titles Act and to give you another option to exit a bad investment. For example, the property you bought become like this, or like this, or like this. Yep, that is our old office. There's a good chance you don't want to stay there anymore because it's unsafe, things are falling apart, and management just can't afford to fix the damages, which is why we have to move out from our old office. And you will probably have a hard time finding buyers and tenants too. But at the same time, you still need to pay your cukai pintu, cukai peta, cukai tanah, cukai oxygen, apa semua. Not to mention management fees, or maybe even your mortgage. Basically, you're bleeding money with little ways to escape all your financial commitments. What the Urban Renewal Act offers is potentially another exit strategy where you and your fellow suffering property owners can band together to get a new developer to take over your old property. And in return, you receive a new unit from this developer or simply cash out. Because under the Strata Titles Act, this is near impossible. In fact, Malaysia's Urban Renewal Act isn't something creative or inventive. In 2010, Hong Kong lowered their consent threshold from 90% to 80%. In 2016, the New South Wales in Australia reduced theirs to 75%. Meanwhile, Singapore was way ahead, reducing their threshold to 80% for properties older than 10 years old and 90% for properties less than 10-year-old way back in 1999. That's 26 years ago. Ultimately, the Urban Renewal Act still puts the choice in the owner's hands because it still requires the majority of owners to agree to surrender their old properties for a new one or for cash. So yeah, I hope that gives you a clearer picture of the Urban Renewal Act. Let us know what you think, and as usual, follow Chili Sauce for more current issues,